All right, guys, what is up? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And today we are going to be talking about the players to watch for both teams when Utah plays USC this weekend. Who are the star players on USC? Who are the star players on Utah? Should be a ton of fun. We're going to break it down. We're going to look at stats, probably look at some PFF grades as well. Should be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and dive in. Before we do, please smash that like button. That'll help get this out to more Utah and USC fans. Also, comment down below. What do you think? Was there anyone on either team that I left out? Was there anyone on either team that you thought might be a little overhyped? I'd love to know. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, if you're a Utah fan, we're putting out a ton of Utah football content. I'm not sure where else you'd want to be to get your Utah football fix. And also, please, if you could share the video with someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's on Facebook or retweet it, whatever, just share it with someone. And on that note, let's go ahead and dive in, talk about the stars to watch in Utah versus USC. All right, guys. And first off, let's take a look at the big dog, the one everyone is going to be expecting to be on this list, Caleb Williams. We'll break down USC first. My goal is to pick two players on offense and two players on defense. Could be more. We'll see how it goes. So, Caleb Williams is the first guy, 82.2 overall grade, 76.6 passing grade. And I would say, guys, don't forget, Caleb Williams has not exactly been lighting the world on fire the past couple weeks. This grade is probably greatly negatively impacted by his past few games. He has had a rough few weeks. The Arizona game and then the Notre Dame game. Tough goes for Caleb Williams. So for that grade to still be an 82.2 and the passing grade to still like 82.2 is elite. Passing grade of 76.6 is very, very good. Running grade of 78.2 is very, very good as well. Caleb Williams is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. We pull up the stats here, guys. There's no doubt in him. 142 completions on 203 attempts. That's 70% completion percentage. And that's with him being the lifeblood of this offense. 70% can tell a few different stories. If you're a quarterback that's kind of like a addition to a running offense and you're not throwing a ton, 70% is pretty doable because they're not that much focused on you. When USC plays teams, they are dead set on stopping Caleb Williams, right? That is their whole goal, is to stop Caleb Williams in this passing attack. So for him to have such a high completion percentage is really impressive. Also 2,021 yards. I mean, what is that? 300 yards a game average. Really good. 23 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So what is that? It's almost 4 touchdowns a game through the first half of the year. Really, really impressive for Caleb. Um, where I do think there is some stuff to be said is almost all these interceptions are in the past 4 games. And I think you could make a case to say these are not in the past 4 games, but the 4 interceptions are in the past few games, which these past few games were definitely USC's toughest games. So are they susceptible? Yeah, they're susceptible, dude. They really are. I think the bad part of these stats has happened really recently and happened against the best teams they played on their schedule. Uh, so I'm pretty optimistic, but that's Caleb Williams, the big time star for USC. You all knew he'd be on this list. All right, guys, and we have to bring up this kid, Zachariah Branch, huge playmaker. This kid is a true freshman, but looks like one of the best players in the country. Seriously, guys. He has only played 5 games this year, 15 receptions, 195 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not crazy impressive, but again, that's 5 games. But if you go down here and you look at his returning stats, 11 returns for 244 return yards and a punt return touchdown. And then on kickoffs, 9 returns for 217 yards and a touchdown. He has a returning kick return and punt return touchdown on the year. And then we go to his PFF grades. He's only played 117 snaps, but on those 117 snaps, he is grading out higher than any other wide receiver USC has. And I know PFF grades aren't everything, guys. I know stats aren't everything, but with this guy, believe it or not, the eye test is even more impressive than the stats and the grades. He can move. He is very deadly, very hard to bring down in open space, and has an ability to weave in and out of oncoming tacklers that you cannot teach to people. It's just a talent that he has, that he's developed or whatever. He is just a special player. Zachariah Branch, number 1 on the field, beast. Be ready if we don't do a good job containing him on kickoffs and punts and wide receiver, and when he's out there at receiver, it'll be a bad time. This kid is a beast. Do not let him being a freshman fool you. He is a guy that can do a ton of damage. So we're going to need to make sure we shut this guy down. All right, guys. And I want to go over one more offensive player that's a big time playmaker for USC, and that is Marshaun Lloyd. Now, I had heard his name, I was familiar with the guy, but I did not know just quite what we were dealing with in this player. He is a playmaker, he is very good. Let's go ahead and take a look at his game log here. So, check this out, guys. His worst game on the year was the season opener against San Jose State. He averaged 4.7 yards a carry, which is actually very good, 4.7 yards a carry. But then since then, he hasn't had a game at under 5.7 yards per carry. Super impressive playmaker. He has 5 rushing touchdowns, 7.5 yards per carry average on the season, 565 rushing yards. He has some receiving yards as well, but not a crazy amount. You get what I mean? Not a crazy receiver, but a really good runner. I can tell you, I was pretty shocked when I saw him, and the PFF grades grade out really well as well. Check him out here. 84.0 grade, and on that grade, he has a 91 rushing grade. Now, good news for Utah is we have done really well against some really good running backs this year, but I think a lot of people are not realizing just how good Marshaun Lloyd is. I know I definitely was not. I was not aware he was this much of a talent, but definitely got to be aware of number 0 on the field. Definitely a big time playmaker for USC. All right, guys. And the final player I'm going to mention for USC, we're going to go over one defensive player for USC. Not that they don't have some good defenders, but this is the one guy that really felt like a star rather than just a good player. They do have a pretty good defense. We'll do a deep dive later on, but for the big time players, Kayden Baek. Now, this guy is a big-time playmaker at safety. He's only got 1 interception on the year and 5 passes defended. But 5 passes defended is pretty good. That's close to 1 a game. The good news for Utah, let's go ahead and pull up his grades here, is even though just so you guys understand, 86.5 is like ridiculously elite grade. The good thing for us is that really elite grade is almost all from coverage. And spoiler alert, I don't think our game plan against USC is going to be to throw the ball a ton. Even if Cam's in, I don't think we're going to be airing it out the whole game. I got to tell you, the way our running attack looked last week against Cal, who actually was a pretty decent run defense, looked awesome to me, and I think it's got me really optimistic for how well we're going to run the ball against these guys, especially considering their best defensive player is kind of one-dimensional. He's a little below average at run defense and amazing at coverage. So you could see a situation where this guy kind of gets pushed out of the game plan because of how we're executing our offense, right? So that's pretty exciting. But Kayden Baek, really good coverage safety, straight beast. He's ranked as the number 8 safety in the country according to PFF. So that's the big time players for USC. All right, and the first guy I want to look at is a running back for Utah, Jindan Jackson. Jindan Jackson brings so much firepower to the running back position. Seriously, if you guys are USC fans and are not sure who this guy is, you might remember last year because he went off on you guys when Utah played USC in the conference championship. Jindan Jackson is a big time star. An 86.6 running back grade is ridiculous. You also look an 87.6 grade as an actual runner and a pretty good receiving grade, right? 68.5 it is super high. Jindan Jackson had an injury and is back and looking great coming back from injury. Let's go ahead and pull up his stats here. 61 carries, 333 yards, one touchdown, 5.5 yards per carry. Again, he missed a big amount of the season. I think it was almost a full 2 games there. These were the games he did play in. In these games, he had one bad game against Florida. But outside of that, he's looked amazing, grading out super well according to PFF. And don't forget, guys, when we're looking at this, I've said it a lot this season, but this is against stacked boxes. This is when they know our quarterback position is struggling, and he's pulling these type of numbers off against stacked boxes. Super impressive. Jindan Jackson, one of the best players on this Utah team, and a guy that provides a spark to this rushing offense that we were missing for a while he was gone. All right, and the next guy we're going to be talking about as a playmaker for Utah is Sione Vaki. I know it was just 1 week last week against Cal, but again, that was a pretty good run defense. A lot of people are downplaying. I mean, I think they were ranked number 34 in rushing defense heading into this game. At the time they were averaging like a less than 120 rushing yards allowed per game, and Sione Vaki went off on them. On the season, he's got 16 carries for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns, 10.3 yards a carry. And honestly, with Sione Vaki, you could probably put him as a playmaker at safety too. Let's pull him up here. So, where is it? So we ignore the snap count, and Sione Vaki, they don't even have him listed up here, but he was listed as a running back. So just to let you guys know, when he is listed as a running back, Sione Vaki, his grade last week was a 91. That's higher than anyone we looked at. Again, it's a small sample size, but I actually believe that would be higher. It'd be tied for like the best grade in all of college football. And if you ignore the guy from Harvard who's not playing close to the competition Sione is, it would be the number 1 grade in all of college football. Again, very small sample size, but very impressive. And he will be a part of the game plan this week. Sione Vaki, really tough to bring back down, really versatile. And on top of all of that, what he does as a running back, he's also a really good safety. Let's pull him up here while we're talking about it. So a 71.8 grade. He's our highest graded safety on the year. Really good run defender, above average in coverage, and a very good pass rusher. So Sione Vaki is a beast. Definitely a guy that deserves a lot of credit for the wins Utah's pulled off this year. So definitely one of the playmakers in my eyes for Utah. All right, guys, and probably the best player on this Utah team this year, I'd say pretty confidently, the guy. He was a good player coming into this year, but has developed and broken out of his shell to just be a superstar, is Jonah Ellis. Jonah Ellis has 9 sacks on the year, and that's only through 6 games, which means he's averaging 1.5 sacks per game. He is looking like an animal. He has a forced fumble. I mean, the kid is damn near unstoppable. I want to show you guys a number here. Check this out. He has a 90.4 PFF grade. Why is that impressive? Well, it's the 3rd best PFF grade in the Power 5. But even more than that, take a look at this number right here. 342 defensive snaps. So of the 2 Power 5 edge rushers that are graded higher than Jonah Ellis, both of them have played 225 snaps or less. So Jonah Ellis is only grading a tad behind them with more than 100 more snaps than both of them. He is looking like an animal. He is looking like the best edge rusher in all of college football. The stats absolutely say it. The PFF grade says it. And look here, guys, this number, we've been over it a few times this year, stops. What a stop means, according to PFF, it's not technically a tackle for a loss, but it's basically a negative play for the offense, a failure for the offense. So like a stop at the line, a 1 yard loss, that sort of stuff. So 24. So he's averaging, 6 of those. I think that's right. No, 4 of those a game. He's averaging 4 stops a game and 1.5 sacks a game. Jonah Ellis is one of the best players on this team and one of the best players in the country. Definitely a guy that needs to start getting first round hype. I think Utah fans might as well enjoy this season while it lasts. I do not see this kid coming back next year. We're talking first round pick type of material. All right, guys, and this is going to be the final player for the breakdown here. We got Kayden Reed. Kayden Reed, a 77.7 grade on the year, 226 defensive snaps, coverage grade is 75.7, and a pass rush grade is 70.7, run defense 72.4. The guy's a beast. Kayden Reed is one of the best tacklers on this team. Tons of awesome open field tackles, lays the wood when he does it. Definitely a big time player. Let me go ahead and pull up the stats here for Kayden. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, so check him out here. And even though he's played quite a few less games than some of these other guys, how many games has he actually played? So he's played 5 games, but he was gone after like the 4th play in the Florida game. And he's got 25 tackles on the year. He has an interception. He has a touchdown off that interception, and he has 3 passes defended. Definitely a big time player. Kayden Reed, going to be a big part of the linebacker crew that has to cover this intense passing attack that Caleb Williams and the USC offense are going to bring. But Kayden Reed's the final guy in the breakdown here of the players to watch. All right, guys, and I'm about to give my honorable mentions for both guys on the team. So I'll give my honorable mentions for USC. I'll also give my honorable mentions for Utah. So definitely stick around here in a second to hear those. If you haven't already, please smash that like button. If you're this deep into the video, come on, how could you not? Also, I want you guys to comment down below. Who are your guys that would have been? So I picked 4 from each team. Who are the 4 guys from each team that you would have picked? A couple honorable mentions here. But also subscribe to the channel. We're going to put out a ton of content, and share the video with someone, share it on social media, whatever. Okay. A couple guys that I think deserve honorable mentions on USC are going to be Taj Washington. He's got 497 yards on 5 touchdowns, and Brendan Rice, who has 452 yards on 8 touchdowns. They're both extremely impressive players and some of the better receivers in the country. The reason they didn't make this list for me was more of an eye test thing. I've watched a few USC games, and I've been incredibly impressed with Zachariah Branch. That's why he made the list over them. Not that they're bad, they're good players. Another guy I want to shout out for USC is Solomon Byrd. He's an edge rusher for USC. He has 5 sacks on the year. Big time player, and very high PFF grade. He had like a 75, so definitely a guy that almost made this list. And then for Utah, I think there's a few obvious ones, right? For me, it's all on defense. There's definitely some offensive guys like Mikey Matthews, but I don't think he was quite in the honorable mention range. The guys for me are Cole Bishop. He's a straight stud, 2 sacks as a safety, 2 interceptions on the year, a forced fumble recovery. I just don't think he's made quite the impact that Vaki has so far when you include the offensive play that Vaki's bringing. Also, guys like Lander Barton. Lander Barton is an awesome honorable mention for Utah. Really good player. Everyone knows Lander Barton. I got to be honest, Lander Barton and Kayden Reed for me were right down the middle. I just went Kayden Reed just because he really has impressed me this year. Lander Barton's really, really good. How many interceptions does he have? He has 2 interceptions. He has 2 passes defended as well. Really good player. So that's it for us, guys. Also, maybe Levani Demooney. He's been pretty good when he's been in there. Has not gotten as many reps as a lot of the other guys, but is 4th on the team in total tackles. So pretty impressive. I'm out of here. Go Utes.